Okay, hey there, Facebook meteorologist Wesley Williams here. Very quick update this morning on Hurricane Maria, which continues to get even stronger as expected. We still expect Maria to intensify even more in the coming days as it bears down on the poor Caribbean islands there. And those same islands saw major Hurricane Irma slammed them in recent weeks, and some of those islands even saw impacts from major Hurricane Jose as well. So we'll get things started here and kind of show you the latest stats. You can see on the screen there as of 7 a.m. Hurricane Maria intensified to a Category 2 hurricane there with maximum winds of 110 miles per hour. And you can see that the system continues to move off to the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour, and the pressure has come down. If you're kind of new to tracking hurricanes, this number, the pressure, the lower it is, the stronger the storm system. So, and usually the lower this pressure number, the higher the winds. So the lower this number goes, it pretty much is a direct correlation in how much the wind is increasing there. And good morning, Alice. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Jesse. Let's take a quick look at the forecast cone with Hurricane Maria. And again, you can see that it's going to be... Oh, no, I want the hurricane cone. Let's throw that on here first before we do the models. All right, so here's a look at the forecast, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Uh-oh. I'm so sorry about that, everyone. I have had my mic muted here. Thank you for pointing that out. I've been trying to look at the comments, and I finally see those comments showing up about the no sound. So if you're just joining us, meteorologist Wesley Williams here. And again, we did have earlier in the video the update on Hurricane Maria, which you didn't hear me say, but I guess you saw. The winds at 110 miles per hour, minimum pressure 967, and that is why the system has intensified to a Category 2 hurricane. Thank you all for pointing out that the mic was muted earlier. I do really apologize about that. But yes, unfortunately, these same islands that got slammed by major Hurricane Irma, and the same islands that got brushed by major Hurricane Jose are now dealing with at least a third threat here with Hurricane Maria, which is expected to reach major hurricane strength. We'll take a look at the models in a moment, but first I want to look at the official forecast, which you were just seeing right before I unmuted the microphone. You can see that the system does go off to the northwest there, continuing to intensify in a Category 4 strength. So again, all of those islands, Puerto Rico, the island of Hispaniola, which includes the countries of Dominican Republic and Haiti, British Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Kitts, Barbuda, Antigua, Guadalupe, all of those areas not looking too good. And again, they were just raked clean by Irma, some of those places. So this is definitely not what you want to see. That's the biggest story here. That's the major story. People in the Gulf can worry if they want. People on the U.S. East Coast can worry if they want. But the main story out of Maria is going to be that it is just pummeling the areas that do not need it right there in the Caribbean. Now, we press this out in time, and you can see that by the weekend, major hurricane near the Bahamas This is the third time we're going to have something like that this season, where there's going to be a major hurricane near the Bahamas. So obviously, with a system that close, we're going to be paying close attention. Wow, I see Andreas saying he's from Puerto Rico and still has no power service since Irma. So again, this is not good to have this system hitting those same areas like that. And I know that Jose made a close brush with Puerto Rico as well. So again, not a good story for them. Now again, this is the forecast up until Saturday. This cone, this forecast cone, does not go past Saturday. So after 5 days, you don't really get a reliable forecast. This is kind of the peak of our scientific field here, and the peak of technology. This is the best we can do, is give you this 5-day forecast cone. Now there are computer models that go beyond 5 days. Those cannot be trusted like you can trust this cone here, because those computer models have a higher degree of uncertainty associated with them. Now we can take a look at some of the computer models past Saturday and see what happens with that. And just keep in mind that the cone, this one right here, this takes the models into account. The majority of the models are going to fall inside of this cone because the humans that create this cone, the human hurricane experts at the National Hurricane Center that draw this cone, they look at the computer models. So those experts are taking those models into consideration. There's a lot of times I hear confusion about people saying, well, I saw this model say this, and that's not what the forecast is showing. But just keep in mind, the models are taken into consideration. Okay, so that being said, let's press this out into time, and I'll give you all a timestamp so that you can keep track along with me. So here's your timestamp, and let's turn it on to date, sure. Let's turn it on to a date. All right. So here we are, Monday, September 18th, Tuesday, September 19th, Thursday, September 21st, Saturday, September 23rd. So again, you're looking at the cone there, the one that everyone at the National Hurricane Center took their time to draw for our consideration if we are planning on making any kind of disaster decisions. You can see that their cone includes the majority of the models through Saturday morning. Yes, there's a model that comes down here. Yes, there's a few that go over Cuba. But again, the majority of them, that's what we're looking for here. We look at models to look at trends. We don't look at models to look at one specific run. And so as we push this past Saturday to see maybe where the cone is going to go after Saturday, here's Sunday the 24th, and I'm seeing the majority of models indicate this will be the likely extension of the forecast cone. We will likely see Irma, when the next forecast cone comes out, continue that track to the north. So that's important to understand when you're talking about tropical information, because there's going to be a lot of misinformation, just like there was with Irma. I know a lot of people in the Gulf wanted to worry about Irma, and we saw that it took the turn. And so again, is it possible that one of these little models over here are correct and that Maria could get into the Gulf? Yes, it's possible. That's why I'm talking about this system, and that's why we're continuing to watch it. But I gotta say, it's pretty unlikely because of the all of these lines right here, all of the computer models in very good agreement that the system is going to continue moving off to the north by Sunday. Let's press these models onto Monday, September 25th. Okay, now we're getting a higher degree of uncertainty. Look at the spread on these models. Even if I draw a circle to where most of them are clustered, I'm going to get a cone that looks something like this. So that's a pretty huge area of uncertainty, and I think I can probably slide that over just to the west, just a tad. But again, the majority of them east of Florida, the majority of the models mainly outside of the Gulf. And they keep going, and again, the majority of the models do continue that sort of northeastish turn there. So I think in general, if you follow the majority of the model lines, you get kind of a track like that. But again, we cannot rule out Gulf impacts. We cannot just wipe our hands clean here and say, okay, well, the models are just a few of them here. It's okay. The most of them are over here, so we're good. This is why we will continue watching Irma until this weekend and maybe beyond, because again, the official forecast for Maria, sorry, we will continue watching Maria until this weekend, because the official forecast for Maria puts the storm center around the Bahamas, and we cannot rule out Gulf impacts. So that's why we're going to be watching here. I do mean Maria. Thank you, Ariel. They kind of have very similar names. If you look at the letters in Maria, every letter from Irma is included in the word Maria. Interesting. Maybe that's why I messed up there. Now, again, there are other things going on in the tropics, and the good news for the Gulf of Mexico is that they're not going to bother the Gulf of Mexico. Lee is expected to fall apart as a tropical depression. Jose is expected to affect the northeast United States as a hurricane, and again, neither of those have any chance. They don't even have a 1% chance of coming into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's not really a need for any concern. But in case you're wondering, the latest on Tropical Depression Lee, winds at 35 miles an hour. I actually noticed it getting a little intensification there. Let's turn on the visible satellite so we can see what's going on with those clouds.